a little bit, but apart from that, they're fantastic. Now, it's a real honor for me to call on our keynote speaker. It's usually a case that when you read an idea and you think, why didn't I think of that? It's one of the best ideas that you could have come across. And doing research about Marius Smit, who's the founder of Plastic Whale in the Netherlands, I definitely had that feeling, that recognition that this is a really, really good, strong idea, so simple and so effective that it's amazing someone didn't think about it before. It requires sometimes a very special sort of mind to go for the simple and the obvious, because often we overcomplicate things. Speaking of which, continue to send in your questions and your comments via Slido, and we'll have our first session with those a little after Marius has spoken. So Marius, please, would you come to the stage and take over and take as long as you want, because I want to sit back and listen to you.
Thank you. All right. I'm really happy to be here, actually. Riga was already a long time on the top of my wish list to go to. And then I was contacted by Martins, of the organization of today, if I could do my keynote speak today before you. And like I said, I had never been to Riga, and this is the first time. Yesterday I arrived. It was a bit dark and rainy, but still I went around the city and already loved it, so I'm looking forward to seeing more. But here today I'm gonna talk about my company called Plastic Whale, and our motto is stop talking, let's start doing, because at one point in my life I decided that I wanted to start doing, not being stuck in meetings and brainstorms all the time, but actually start doing together with people who want to do as well. Because what's Plastic Whale all about? Well, Ms. Sloop was already mentioning the problem of the plastics in the water, the phenomenon called plastic soup. About 15 years ago, I'd never heard of that phenomenon. And that's when I went on a travel for a year together with my girlfriend, Karina, who's nowadays my wife and mother of 2 kids, so that was a successful trip. But anyways, the thing you do when you go travel for a year is you go to the most beautiful places you can imagine, and that's what we did. We went to the most remote beaches, to the most beautiful little islands far away, and everywhere we went we saw plastic waste, and we weren't that surprised, because nowadays you grow up in a society full of plastic waste. But at one point we were staying on the north side of Borneo, near Kota Kinabalu. And we stayed in this romantic little hut on this romantic little beach. And one morning we woke up and we wanted to go to the beach, but the weather was really bad because there had been a typhoon hundreds of kilometers north of Borneo. So there was a lot of inland wind, a lot of rain and everything, so a bit like Riga yesterday. And when we arrived at the beach, it was engulfed by plastic waste. It looked a bit like this beach, but it wasn't this beach. This is a picture actually taken by a friend of mine who travels to Western Africa a lot. This is a beach near Accra, Ghana. He took more pictures of more beaches and they all look like this. You don't see any sand anymore, it's all covered with plastics. And when I arrived at the beach in Borneo, I was shocked because, like I said, I'd never heard of the phenomenon called plastic soup. But there I saw it with my own eyes. I thought, if just after one storm, such a beautiful small little beach is engulfed by plastic waste, how much waste must there be at sea? Who puts it there? Where does it go to? And what does it do? The thing that I decided when I was traveling for a year is to change my life around, because I wanted to lead an adventurous life, not being stuck at the office. And I thought, okay, whilst I'm on this beautiful earth, let me contribute in a positive way and do something that is sustainable. So let me do something about the phenomenon called plastic soup. So when I arrived back home, this was home until 2 years ago. I live in Amsterdam, near the city center. I saw that the plastic soup isn't necessarily a faraway problem. It starts in our own backyard. And in my case, in the beautiful canals of Amsterdam. So I decided that I wanted to start at home in my own backyard. But then the problem started because I was always stuck in the office. I'd never started something myself. I'd never created anything myself. So a few weeks after we got back from the travels, we got married. So we were officially poor. And I had to make money. So I went into my old profession, marketing and strategy. But this thing frustrated me because I wanted to start doing something against the problem called plastic soup. So about 8 years ago, I became a freelancer. I quit my job and I became a freelancer, and they gave me a lot of space and time in my head and in my agenda because I was a terrible freelancer. I didn't know how to sell myself, so I had a lot of time on my hands. And the advantage of that was that I had the time to look around what's happening in the world and to think of a way in which I could actually tackle this problem called plastic soup just by myself. And I started looking around, and was one man who really inspired me. And that was John F. Kennedy with his speech of 1961, during which he portrayed a man on the moon. He wanted to put a man on the moon before the end of the decade. At the time it was sheer impossible, but it was relevant because of the race against the Russians. It was time-bound, so there was a lot of pressure on it. And mostly this clear vision of a man standing on the moon excited people. And that combination of factors created a movement forward, a movement of people who wanted to make the impossible possible. And that excited me because you can look at a problem or you can look at the solution. And I wanted to be part of the solution, not be part of the problem. And at that time, social media was developing really quickly. And I thought, because of social media, you don't have to be called Kennedy anymore to create a movement, because social media allows you to connect to millions of people all around the world. So you don't have to be called Kennedy anymore to create a movement forward, but you just have to define your own man on the moon. And that's what I did 7 years ago. 7 years ago, I defined my man on the moon. It's written in Dutch, but I'll say it in English. My man on the moon sounded like, I want to build a boat made from plastic waste, yet I've never driven a boat, let alone built one. So please help me. I knew nothing of boats, nothing of plastics, nothing of sustainability. I had no plan. All I got was this little sentence. And I was living in the city center of Amsterdam. I had 2 young kids, married to Karina. So you can imagine Karina's excitement when I was starting this. Because she was asking Marius, it's great that you want to pursue your dreams and goals, but how on God's earth are you going to provide for your family? How are you going to make money? And I said, Karina, I don't know. But it's going to be all right. Because I had a few convictions. And the first conviction was that there were millions and millions of people just like me who were fed up with all the bad news and who wanted to see progression, who want to be part of the good news. But they don't know how to. You know, civilians, they feel small and insignificant, not knowing how they actually can contribute in a large way to a bigger change. Companies struggling with sustainability, governments, the same thing. So there are millions of people with the same frustration as I do. And this group and the urgency is only growing because the problems aren't going away. They're actually getting worse every single day. So the sense of urgency of actually starting to do is growing as well. And my second conviction was more from my marketing background, looking at companies. All sorts of companies making all sorts of promises about sustainability, but I never saw actual proof. You know, I never saw the actual thing that companies were doing. And I thought that's going to be a problem for companies because of social media. The world is getting more and more transparent, and people are going to demand action, sustainable action. But if you would, for instance, say that you buy green energy as a company, your next competitor can do the same thing. It is in the actual doing that you can differ yourself from your competitors. So I thought the sustainable competitive advantage of the future is not in what you say, what you do, but actually what you do and how you involve your stakeholders. And then tell about it. So I said to Karina, you know, I'm not going to be smarter than anybody else. I'm not going to study sustainability. I'm going to be the one who actually starts doing, because that's what society needs nowadays, to actually start doing. And I said, if I start doing, and if I invite all these people who will help me, a network will grow of civilians, companies, and government institutions that will work together towards a positive outcome. A group of people who don't wait for each other, who don't point a finger at each other for responsibility, but who actually work together towards a positive outcome. And the bigger this group comes, the more possibilities will come to life. And that's what I like, you know, connecting the dots, creating possibilities. She didn't understand. She said, well, but who, when, how many, and how much? And I said, I don't know, but I'm sure it's going to happen. So she let me go, and I still give her a lot of credit for it. Because, like I said, we had 2 young kids living in Amsterdam. It was no small feat starting to do this. But it turned out that I was right in my convictions, because as soon as I published my Man on the Moon via social media, my phone rang. My email was just being filled up by all sorts of people who wanted to help me, all experts in their own field. So I was traveling through Holland, and I was building this new network. So some people were in between jobs, and they were nearly helping me full time. So this movement was actually coming into existence. But after a while, I was being stuck in so many meetings that I said to my new colleagues, you know, I wanted to start doing, not being talking all the time to all sorts of people. We're from Amsterdam. We've got the beautiful canals. Why don't we arrange some boats and some friends, food and drinks and fishing nets, and we go plastic fishing on the canals of Amsterdam? And we will call it old-fashioned Amsterdam plastic fishing, as if it's been a long-standing tradition, like we've been doing this for many, many, many years, also written in old-fashioned Dutch. And people liked it, so I thought, okay, let's just invite anybody. If you want to join, just join. And we thought if 50 people turn up on 10 boats, we'll be all right, because we didn't think about licenses or anything like that. In June, we thought this should happen in September. So 50 people, 10 boats, will be all right. Well, a friend of mine designed this beautiful poster, and one guy, he saw the poster, a printing company, and he said, it's a beautiful poster, we'll print it for free. Another company saw it, and they liked the poster. They said, we'll put it around Amsterdam for free. And all of a sudden, it became a hit, because 450 people turned up on 30 boats. And the next year, 1,200 people on 72 boats coming together on the Sunday to go plastic fishing. If you had told me before, I'd have laughed you in your face, but that's what happened. Because after all, it turned out that people just love plastic fishing. You know, young, old, civilians, companies, governments, it all came together. So this plastic fishing became bigger than the boat itself, the challenge of the boat, which was cool because the boat wasn't a goal by itself. It was a means to build this network of people, and they came together to go plastic fishing. So we take out lots of plastic. So what do we do with the plastic? Well, during the plastic fishing, we already separate the bottles from all the other materials. We fish out everything that fits into our nets. So things like couches or refrigerators, things like that, we leave in the canals for the authorities to take out. But every year we fish out tons of plastic and tens of thousands of bottles. And the bottles we keep separate, and we create this whole sea of plastic bottles because we had learned that we could turn the bottles into granules and the granules into foam plates. So this is the first stack of foam plates. That was standing at a boat builder, because from that boat builder I had learned that you could use the foam plates to build beautiful boats. Because I wanted to make a beautiful boat to show to other people that what we see as valueless waste isn't actually valueless. it should be perceived as valuable raw material from which you can create beautiful stuff, like boats. And we did. So 4 years ago, we presented the first boat made from Amsterdam canal plastic at the HISWA boat show. And it became a plastic fishing boat, made to go plastic fishing. So you could fish out more plastic so you could build more boats. So you can fish out more plastic so you can build more boats. That was the idea. And at the time we also thought, okay, we wanted to become the first professional plastic fishing company in the world. So from that moment on, I was the first professional plastic fisherman in the world, together with a group of people. Actually aiming to create a self-sustaining business. So not being dependent upon subsidies or anything like that, but creating value for people so they will pay you for your services and products. And that's actually what happened, because as soon as we had the boat, we got so much press and attention, and people believed what we did because we put our money where our mouth was. And we were being approached by all these companies who wanted to go plastic fishing. Companies started paying to go plastic fishing with their company. So Nike, Tommy Hilfiger, the big banks. My phone just rang, I didn't have to do anything, and they would say, we want to go plastic fishing, and I was organizing paid plastic fishing events. So a business model was evolving. And after a while I was being approached by this guy who said, I have got 11 exploitation licenses left for the canals of Amsterdam. And to make clear, to drive boats commercially in Amsterdam, you need exploitation licenses. It's the single biggest tourist attraction in the Netherlands. So you can imagine the stakes. Everybody wants to have them, and they're in short supply, so they're worth a lot of money. But this was a principal guy. He said, I want something special to be done with them. There are enough tourist boats. You do something special, so if you want to have them or buy them, you're the first one. And that made me realize that this is the opportunity to create a self-sustaining business model for plastic whale. So I wanted to have them or buy them. But it meant that I needed more boats, I needed an organization, I needed money. I didn't know how to do that. So again, I asked around within my network, I was being helped. 2 months later, I had 2 new sponsors, 3 shareholders, and a bank loan, and we could build more boats. So part of our business model is that we, every time we get a new sponsor, we can build a new boat. So 4 years ago we had 1 boat. Well, the next year we had a fleet of 3 boats. And nowadays we have 9 boats floating around in Amsterdam. And we've got just 3 new sponsors recently. A supermarket chain, Heineken Brewery, and Uniqlo, a Japanese clothing manufacturer. And we never have to look for sponsors. They all approach us. That's the beautiful thing, because companies are increasingly looking for ways to become more sustainable, but also to involve their own stakeholders. And what a beautiful way to involve your employees or your business relations on boats. We're very pragmatic, but also very ambitious. I started in Amsterdam with a campaign, Amsterdam people for plastic-free waters. But I always thought, okay, if this business model works in Amsterdam, why not export it to other parts of the world? Because this is a global problem. And that's what's happening right now. You know, we're being approached by people from all across the world, whether we can start or they can start plastic whale locally. Well, we started a franchise a couple of years ago in Rotterdam, and it's developing very nicely. So there are 2 boats over there already sponsored. The last one is a golden boat. And it has also become a huge success from other perspectives as well. Because next to our business, we still have our foundation. And within our foundation, we've got a school program, because I had learned from firsthand with my own kids what the positive impact is of plastic fishing on kids. They see plastic waste everywhere and they want to chase it. But as soon as they fish it out of the water, they realize immediately that it shouldn't be there. And when we tell them that we create beautiful stuff from it, the circle is round for those kids. But we never tell them what not to do. We only tell them what to do. So we have a very positive approach. So a couple of years ago I thought, okay, we want to start this school program so kids of 11 and 12-year-olds can go for free with their class. But then we were being approached by high schools, universities, international universities. And we thought, okay, you know, we want to invite everybody. They pay a small fee. So 2 years ago we had about 500 youngsters, and this year alone about 2,000 youngsters on the canals of Amsterdam plastic fishing, and next year we want to double it again. And next to that, it's also become a very popular tourist attraction. Never been my intention, but we were being approached by people from all across the globe. We're coming to Amsterdam, can we go plastic fishing? So nowadays, via Airbnb experiences, people can buy a ticket and go plastic fishing. So just last week I had a group from Korea and Japan, from Australia, and that's our way to involve people from all across the world in our mission and to spread the word about value creation of plastic waste as one part of the solution of the plastic soup. And like I said in the start of my presentation, is that I believe that when the group of people being involved was growing, the number of possibilities would grow as well. And that's where I get to the next level of my business. Because about 1.5 years ago, we were sitting around at the lunch table, and the lunch table was getting a bit small because our team was growing, because our company was growing. And we figured that we needed a new lunch table, but the new didn't really suit us. So one person pointed at one of those foam plates that we use to build our boats and said, well, if we can use boats from that, well, why can't we make our own table? So I thought that's really cool. Have our own lunch table made from Amsterdam canal plastic. So I thought, let's do it. And then I started thinking further about all those companies who are struggling to find a way with sustainability, with the plastic soup, or with circular economy. And they all need office furniture. So why don't we start making office furniture from Amsterdam canal plastic, or Mumbai Bay plastic, or Balinese beach plastic? Because this is scalable. You know, the more companies who want to have our furniture, the more raw material we need to get out of the water. So I checked it within my network, and people were really enthusiastic. So I invested a lot of time, money, and energy into developing this. And I met up with Vepa, which is one of the largest producers of office furniture in the Netherlands. And this is what happened. I'm Marius Smit, and I'm the founder of Plastic Whale. We're the first professional plastic fishing company in the world, and we fight for plastic-free waters. We create economic value from plastic waste. Every single year we go plastic fishing on the canals of Amsterdam with thousands of people, and we take out tons of plastic waste. We use the PET bottles as raw material for foam plates, and we use the foam plates to build boats, plastic fishing boats, made from Amsterdam canal plastic. And now we came up with this great new idea, office furniture. But we had to do it right. Top quality products with a cool, unique, circular design. So I called my friends Erik and Yvonne from Lama Concept, because they're great designers.
First, we had to come up with a strong design concept. The whale.
Whales have great, iconic features.
Beautiful shapes and lines.
For the boardroom table, we used the surfacing whale.
For the chair, we used the shape of the tail.
The bellow of the whale for the acoustic panels.
And the barnacles on the skin for the lamps.
all right, we have a cool design concept, we have beautiful materials, now we just need somebody to produce it. Then a friend of mine introduced me to Gert-Jan.
Hi, I'm Gert-Jan.
And he loved the idea.
I just love the idea.
And guess what? Gert-Jan happens to be product developer at Vepa, one of Holland's main office furniture companies. And the best thing is, they make everything in-house, all made in Holland.
We loved the plan, the idea, and of course the design was beautiful. So we teamed up as partners to make this happen.
So I thought, we have this great design, we have a top production partner, let's go.
Well, Marius, that's easier said than done. Normally the development of a new product takes 2 years at least. But we like the challenge. So we focused all our development capacity on this project.
For months we tested,
Tested again,
Designed.
redesigned,
Discussed.
rediscussed.
Frustrated.
we just kept going, finding solutions to every single challenge.
And in the end,
The result is just great.
Plastic whale circular furniture by Vepa. Made from bottles. I'm so proud that we pulled this off.
And this is just the beginning.
After all, the plastic soup is a global problem.
It is huge, it is complex, and it is fast growing. But we can actually do something about it.
We can make a powerful statement by teaming up,
Getting started
by getting our hands dirty.
and getting things done. So,
Let's start doing. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that's what happened. And like Gert-Jan said, the product developer, normally it takes about 2 years to develop a product. Now we developed 4 products in just 6 months. Because we believe in the power of creation, the power of movement. It doesn't have to be necessarily perfect, the first part, the first step. But as soon as you get things moving, I believe other things will evolve as well. So the start of this year, we introduced the products in Amsterdam in a beautiful location, Old Factory. And it was our aim to create launching partners. So companies who believe in our philosophy, who want to support our mission, and obviously who love our furniture. And so far, there are already 15 large organizations in the Netherlands who have bought our furniture. And the first one was the State Secretary of the Netherlands, of the Ministry of Infrastructure. And we placed it there about 3 weeks ago. And she was really proud. But I was also extremely proud because the table is used for the minister and the State Secretary actually as the meeting table. So they're sitting around the table with all these guests talking about the table. Because that's what's happening. The top is made of felt. Like you saw, it looks like no other table. So people want to feel it, and they're asking, what is this table made from? So it's very much a talking piece. It's a starting point. The table isn't an end result, it's just the start. It's the start of a commitment. It's the start of a vision of a company wanting to be committed as well to developing in a circular way. Because once we've placed these tables at these large companies, they start asking new questions. That they have this internal stream of plastics, and maybe we can turn it into new products for them. Or maybe we can help them with their own stakeholders, like Plus Supermarket, who wants to create less plastic packaging and more sustainable packaging within their supermarket, and don't know how to do it. We've got a huge network, and we want to connect people to get things done. So that's very much the vision of Plastic Whale. we start doing with a larger aim, connect a lot of people, do it together, and before you know it, you've created a lot of progress. And like I said before, we don't want to contain it to Amsterdam, because this is a global problem. We are currently looking to invest in India, and maybe in Indonesia, but a Dutch project in India called Sweep Smart, to learn about the problem there, but also to learn about how we can create local economic value from local plastic waste. So the local community and the local economy will profit from it. And to use it as a showcase and to involve more and more companies. Because we're already being approached by companies who want to use our raw material, but for their own products. So how cool is that? Because together with all these companies, we can create a growing positive impact. Well, like I said, I got 15 seconds left. Like I said at the start, I quit my job at the time to actually start doing. So our motto is, stop talking, let's start doing. And that's what I want to invite you to do as well. It doesn't always necessarily have to be huge or big, but just keep going and keep moving in the right direction, because if you ask people to join you, they will, because there are so many people who want to create something positive and want to add something beautiful to this world. And especially if you combine that with tourism, for instance, it's a whole new creative and positive way to involve visitors to a country or to a city as well. And that's how I want to conclude my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. Do I stay here?
Thanks, that was great.
Thank you.
Just stay on the stage?
Yeah, okay, yeah, sure.
Thank you so much, Marius. That was a really genuinely inspirational talk, and I think there's just so much there that we'll be able to take into our further discussions. On which subject we're about to start the first panel discussion, which I'm delighted to say Marius has agreed to join us. But there's also going to be a parallel seminar happening at the same time, starting soon, in the small hall about tourist system of the Baltic Sea region, hosted by Tomasz Dudniecki. It'll be featuring Professor Valentin Korniewiec and Professor Beata Meyer. So if that's something you want to go to, please head to the small hall now. We're also going to have an opportunity to hear some of these Slido questions and any other questions which have come in via social media. So if Martin could let us know on screen if any of those want to appear. Otherwise, Marius, I'd invite you to please take a seat.
Yep.
And I'm going to invite a couple of the other panelists on stage as well. I can see some Slido pictures appearing here. Maybe I'll switch to the other microphone. Hello, hello? Yeah, that's better. So as a few people filter out to go to the other session, I can see a couple of the Slido questions appearing. We'll come to them in a moment, but I'll just prime you, Marius, give you a bit of advance warning. First one, how did the funding of activity was organized? How was the funding organized? Was it private? Investment project or so forth. And also there's a question about the ban on the single-use plastics and how it might affect you in future. So we'll come to those specifically in a few minutes. Now I'd like to invite the other panelists onto the stage.